When the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Oh, try that again.
When the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. It's the best soccer show. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, a.k.a. J. Rodius,
For 1 week, you don't know how to use the board anymore.
a.k.a. Thuggish Flamingo over here.
Oh.
Thuggish Flamingo. I'm just taking it. Just taking it.
For the podcast listeners, you have to tell them why you're saying that.
Oh, we will. We'll talk about if you don't know what.
No, I'm saying
Thuggish-
why you're even saying it's on the screen. They don't know why you're saying it. It's on the
Oh,
screen.
okay. Well, okay.
I know you have
do
I know
that?
you have a radio show, so
Why
you're
do
not
you
used to
do
the
that?
video. Because
but
no one understands why you're saying it.
Eventually, will get explained, and it's a mystery. It's a little thing for the podcast listeners to figure out. I think a lot of people listening know what Thuggish Flamingo is all about because it's a thing that was in a headline at The Athletic about Lionel Messi and Inter Miami's trip to China for their preseason tour, their disastrous, debauculous preseason tour. And I think we'll talk some Inter Miami. But I just wanted to completely co-opt Thuggish Flamingo because I think that's great. I think it's a great name.
It's a fantastic club name and a rap name, yeah.
It's a rap name. It could be a band name, but it's not. It feels more like a rap name to me.
If I was a professional dancer, I'd be Thuggish Flamenco.
if you were right, if you were a professional dancer, you would do that.
Hey, shout out to JTT and Morgan for filling in for me last week. I appreciate that.
There you go.
And shout out to JTT for not letting you off the hook for not remembering the name Marco Echeverri. That's a true listener that he was willing to bring up 2 weeks later. You
just like when people give me shit. That's just you just like
sometimes you need to be brought down a peg. I don't know. I don't have to tell you.
Yeah, you know me. I'm up there, right?
You're up in the outer space on satellite radio, and
that's
you gotta
right.
get your feet on the ground.
Well, it sounds like the Russians are going to shoot down all the satellites, and I'm going to be off the air. So,
you think they start with Sirius?
Yeah, I think they would aim directly at Sirius, and probably because of Sirius XMFC, they probably hate all the soccer.
What'd be awesome is that like mixtapes and record players and radios that you
all
crank,
back,
all back.
I saw this incredible video. I don't know where I saw it, but it was I don't know if it was staged or not, but it was definitely like a middle-aged mom. I think a little bit older than us, right? Because again, it was like I don't know, maybe not. Maybe she's right in our wheelhouse because
I love middle-aged moms.
We lived through the CD age. Our life spans the entire history of the compact disc, right? Our experience as young
from the time when it was a $500 item from Sony.
That's right. Right. We were on tapes in '89 and we were on CDs in '91. That's how fast it all flipped over.
And Napster by 2001.
And then we were done with CDs pretty fast. And it was this middle-aged mom, and all the CDs are laid out on the table, and she's yelling at her kid, "I'm not getting rid of my CDs. You told me vinyl was dead, and then it came back. I got rid of all my records, and then it came back."
I have two true or falses for you. First one.
Yeah.
Do you still have a huge binder of CDs somewhere in your house you just can't bring yourself to throw away?
I do not. I've not been hauling things around.
I think I have like a 200 disc booklet still.
Okay. Here's
why
Hold
though.
on.
Here's
Hold
why
on.
I keep them.
Hold on.
Every once in a while we rent an RV or a motorhome and it only has a CD player and then we're gold.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to need you to pull that book out and we're going to go through it. We're going to take a look at Jared Dubois'
my wife and I play
CD
a game
album.
when we have if we rent a motorhome or something like that, where I'm driving and she's DJ Hotfoot and she's in the side riding shotgun, and I give her a page and a slot number and blind, and she puts the CD in, and it's a question of how many first 10 seconds of how many tracks before I can get the album or the artist right.
Right.
It's a fun game.
I guess it's definitely an old person game. I'll say
Your
that.
your other true or false. Jason Davis, true or false, had a CD dangling from his rearview mirror at any point in his car.
No, I never did that. I
Don't
thought
understand that.
I
I don't
thought that
understand
was busted. I don't know
Just
why people did
blinding
that.
all the other drivers on the road.
No, I absolutely had the mini set of CDs in the visor organizer. I definitely had that. Like,
The
oh,
holster
okay,
for the quick draw.
gotta get them, and you're driving, and
All
you're
right,
like,
so it's 95,
right.
96 because you have
Oh.
you. What's the 5 discs that are in the visor?
96, man. 96
All right,
for you.
Let's say from 96 to 2000. What are the 5 discs that you think are in that visor?
Okay, Biggie's in there, and that's a double album situation, but I will consider
2
that
slots. No,
one
it's 2
CD.
slots.
All right, fine, 2 slots. I'll give that. I'll put that
Wait,
one
you
in.
have Melancholy and not the Infinite Sadness.
Here's why I keep thinking about. I'm going to do it this way: Thuggish Flamingo as a rap name because there's Thuggish Ruggish Bone. So Bone Thugs and Harmony would definitely be in there. Probably
from Charles,
Weezer's Blue album would be in there. Probably Dookie would be in there. So that's 5. I think I'm already.
That's
Am I up
good.
to 5?
I like your
Is that
choices.
5?
I like your style.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
There
easy.
would like you catch me in a moment. I had that Aerosmith album that they dropped with the cow udder or whatever was on it. What was that one? That had crying and all that stuff on
Oh,
it.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
that album. I had that album. That got a lot of play. I mean, it was a lot of rap. There was a lot of rap going on. So,
A lot of New Jack Hustle.
well, answer your own question before we get to the soccer.
In that era, I'm gonna go set mine a few years earlier because I was driving by '93. So I will say, Rage Against the Machine's first album,
Okay.
Beastie Boys, Ill Communication.
Ill Communication. Okay.
Yeah, it was big at that time. I will say, Bad Religion 8085 was a compilation album.
Okay.
I'm going to put Blink's Cheshire Cat. And
What year is that? What year is a Blink?
That's probably going into 97, probably somewhere 96,
Okay.
97 for the
Okay.
first album. And then I'm going to say, oh man, there was probably Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. I can't remember what album
Okay.
it was, but before
Okay.
the Impression That I Get one, right before
Right.
that.
Right.
That'll be mine.
If I thought about this, I could come up with another 15 that are like,
Oh yeah,
maybe
those are
they
the first
bump
ones
us
that
up.
came in my head, though. So
Yeah,
it's
sure.
probably
Sure. I will say one more thing on this whole CD culture.
yeah.
I was at one point driving like a 1990 or 91 Pontiac Grand Am. It was red, not with the red bumpers. I always thought that was a little whack. I had red bumpers and the gray bumpers were bad because they did a two-tone thing on the Grand Am. That for whatever reason, that Pontiac Grand Am had some bass. Like it could thump.
I know a lot of people that had that car, and I will agree with you.
It could thump. So I was always, breaking out something.
Here's the
had some
crazy
bass
thing.
to it.
MLS is there a current MLS player
Uh-huh.
whose first car had a CD player or like they owned CDs?
I mean, Dax is still bouncing around. He just signed with Atlanta.
Was he
Dax sounds-
38?
Yeah, Dax is he's
So
not
that means-
38 yet, is he? See that
Was he
old?
35?
Man, I feel like
So that's 11. That's 12 years younger than me now. So that means that he wasn't driving until 05.
no, is that right?
So do you think that there's an MLS player that
05.
identifies their first car as having CDs or they're already using iPods? I don't know if there's an MLS
They probably
player
had
that
CD
was
player.
rocking
The car had a CD player. My wife has a 2014 Nissan Rogue and it's got a CD player in it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but
it's
does.
in it, but do you think that's what they were actually like? Do they identify
Oh.
with like the iPod or like CDs?
I don't know. I have no idea. You have to ask young people, which we're apparently
Dax
not.
McCarty, the oldest player in the league now, you think?
Somebody check that out. Somebody in the Slack will know, or in the chat will know. The one other thing I will say about CDs is that because I had that Grand Am and it did not have a CD player in it, it had a tape deck in it. I had to use the CD player adapter, and the CD player was on this shock absorber thing that went in the cup holder.
Yeah, that
the
Grand
middle.
Am, that's not like you could take a bump.
Oh no, it was like always skipping.
You got to
for
approach all
sure.
the dips from one wheel at a time at an angle.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
what a
understand the
time!
struggle.
What a time to be alive.
Does Dax
Gary.
McCarty have a team?
He signed for Atlanta. He's playing in Atlanta this year. He's the new Jeff Lorenowitz or the new Ozzy Alonso.
Hey, not bad.
basically.
I mean, Jeff Lorenowitz has sneaky stats that people don't realize in MLS. One of the
Okay,
all-time greats.
this is ostensibly a soccer show, so 10 minutes
Say
in,
so.
let's get to some soccer.
That's the problem when you
First,
fill it with me instead of JTT.
and I did not, we've never put it together a drop for the man, even though he probably should get one just because we love him so much, despite the fact he hasn't been able to put together a strong run of consistent performances.
I already know the drop. I already know the drop.
What's the drop?
This is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
Okay. I got to find that one. What is that from?
Bob, the Newhart Show. Bob Newhart
the
Show.
Newhart Show. Oh my gosh, you are dating us.
It doesn't matter what it's like from. It's just the fact it's a good drop.
No, that's fair. Daryl Dike suffering an Achilles tendon tear. Now you might think your first instinct might be, Jared, like, I can't believe he tore that Achilles. He just rehabbed. He just came back from it. I can't believe this sucks for Daryl Dike. You would be wrong. Not that it doesn't suck for Daryl Dike. It does suck for Daryl Dike.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same Achilles. It was the other Achilles, which is bonkers to me. I mean, what does the universe
out to get him, man?
have against Daryl Dike?
It's how does a person put so much positivity out into the world and just be so just the odds are just never in his favor. It feels like the guy can't catch a break. Now he's still only 23.
Yeah, 20,
can he do it again? I mean, I'm sure he's going to
20,
try, right? I think he's 23, dude. I think he's only 23.
I think, yeah, he is 23. Yeah, of course. He's not going to give up on his career.
Achilles. What else did he do? What did he do before his Achilles?
He did a knee. He's done a knee, I think. Was it a knee or was it a hamstring tear or something? Maybe you're right.
Remember, but it's just the guy is just so stake bit. And it's unfortunate too because he's a striker profile that the only other competition really has for that profile is like Brandon Vasquez, and man, I just would love to see what he could do in certain situations as a last 20-minute player when you're like chasing a game or get a hold of the ball to win a game. I think he has a role that he could play for the U.S. national team if he could just get it together and be at the right level.
Well, that's the thing. You say, this is what I struggle with, right? Is we kind of turn chronic injury problems, and maybe this is different because it's catastrophic, right? It will cancel a year for him as opposed to a hamstring that you pull and I can't come back from it. But we tend to look at players who have these chronic injury problems as something's wrong with them, right? You're deficient as a player. Now,
sure.
I guess technically true. He is deficient as a player because he can't play, but it's not some sort of failing on Daryl Dike's part.
No, like, but it's a failure on his body. That's legitimate. To say.
But sure, but he's not doing
anything to do.
He's not failing to do
FIFA
something.
is somehow going to make you like injured. Like I don't think he's doing anything to
unless being on TikTok weakens your Achilles tendons. I don't think it's that.
I just think he's just unfortunately snake bit. But this is the kind of thing you see oftentimes where a person does an ACL and then they do the other one because the body you put more on the other way and you don't trust it yet. You end up going, but his was even more free because he was just going up for a head ball and landed in a way that the Achilles just gave out. It's really, really unfortunate. And credit to the West Brom fans and players coming out, paying him homage. Shout out to Ethan Horvath in that game who wore the Daryl Dike shirt, supporting his national team. Do you think that's something he had to clear first, or do you think he just did it?
I think he probably just did it. I don't know.
Think he catch a scrap for that?
I hope not. I mean,
America, I think, will be England.
Yeah, I guess there is some of that, right? But it's not like West Brom and Cardiff are like hardcore rivals or something, right? Like if there was some deep history and they hated each other, and Ethan Horvath came out in a West Brom shirt, then yeah, maybe it would be like, how dare you? Like I know fans love to dig into social media history and like, oh, that signing that we just brought in, he was in a Tottenham shirt and he just signed for Arsenal and stop.
Now, I don't know how long DK's deal was with West Brom. I can't think it's more than 3 years. He's got to be coming up against it with where this injury is going to let him off a year from now. I mean, it's going to be difficult to find a team that's going to pay what is probably the appropriate amount of money for his talent. I think he's probably going to have to take he'll probably have to do some reconstruction on his career after this.
Yeah,
At
maybe.
the MLS bound.
I don't even want to. I don't want to even talk about that. I mean, I don't even want to look ahead to that, right? Because I don't know. I want to hope for the best, and maybe
For
that is
sure.
just being naive or wishing rather than being logical about it.
So
I
are we
wanna
close
point this
enough that
out.
we can talk about Tyler Adams, or is that even something you don't want to talk about?
Well, hold on a second. I do think Tyler Adams should come into this conversation in a second, but I want to point this out. Like, so I've heard, this is just theories, right? And some of them came up on the radio show. Jared, have I told you that I work on the radio?
Oh, Russia hasn't taken out that satellite yet, huh?
No, Russia has not decided to shoot us down.
WNBC. WNBC.
Your platform is how your service is how I get all my Fox News.
Do you think that Howard Stern would have done a better job of interviewing Putin? Do you think that would have gone better?
You act like I watched the Tucker Carlson one.
No, I'm not saying you watched it. I'm just saying, just assume, knowing what you know about Tucker Carlson, we can all assume that Howard would have done a better job.
Did Tucker Carlson do the interview on his knees, or how did he do it?
I think he did it with his back to Vlad.
Oh,
actually.
that's interesting
Yeah.
tack.
Yeah, and then yeah.
In that case, no, I don't think Howard Stern would have done it better.
Okay. There was a theory laid out that perhaps Daryl Dike's body type, like he's just a big dude and he is a very strong dude, and you put that muscle on that frame, and sometimes when you put stress on it like that, right? And that's not to say like, is that a failing on like, oh, Daryl, why'd you overtrain? I don't think that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
So, I get it, but at the same time, the NFL is full of Daryl DKs, full of them.
It's a good point. Is the training different? Is the stress or the
Now,
stress is
that's
different?
fair.
I don't know.
Is an NFL player being asked to run 5 to 6 miles in a game? No. That body type is not being asked to do the endurance, but it is asked to be doing something a lot more explosive, I think, on the football field and a lot more damaging. But maybe there is something to be said about whether or not that body like that can do it. But I mean, we've seen other players. Didier Drogba's probably close to that DK size, right?
Yeah,
maybe not height wise.
Well, I go to Adama Traore, but again,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like, is there something different about Adama Traore than Daryl Dike that I don't know. I don't understand. Like, again, you don't see a ton of guys like Traore running around, do you? Like, there's not a bunch
there may be a reason for that, but there could be a number of things, but even he's got what, 2 brothers
Well, so this is what I wanted to get to. Yeah. His brother Bright was a top draft pick in Major League Soccer in 2014, 2013. No, I'm sorry. 12th overall in the 2010 MLS Super Draft. He was drafted by Columbus. He then was released by Columbus. They didn't sign him. He went to Portland. He played for Portland. He had some goals. He tore his ACL in a preseason match in February of 2013. And then a year later, he tore his Achilles tendon. And his career, and he went to Russia for a little while. He played in Malaysia. Like, he was just trying to keep it going. But it didn't end up working out for him.
A family of athletes. It doesn't just stop there. We could go on and on. The cousins and I think uncles, like they come from a family of athletes. But yeah, it's just, man, there's something that is unfortunate. Maybe, like you said, maybe it is something where that there's something with that frame and that body type that makes soccer a tough sport to play. I'm no doctor. I'm a physiologist or anything like that. But you're right when you say you don't see a ton of guys in that frame playing this sport, which is why it's such a cool thing and why you want him and why he stands out when you see him and you see how agile and how creative he can be. It's not like he's just an anvil at the front. The guy he can move. Now we'll have to see if you're limited after having that many tendon issues. Can he come back and be that kind of mobile striker? Does he have to change his game and maybe become more of that power center forward?
Yeah, I guess that's a possibility, but I do think it's probably clear that the idea of Daryl Dike scoring a bunch of goals in the championship and pushing himself into the conversation for the U.S. men's national team striker position is that's not happening, right? That we can, for the moment, for at least Copa America.
He's 23, so I'll be careful. Charlie Davies came back from worse,
That's true. He was not the same player, obviously, but he did come back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that leads me, and you actually mentioned Tyler Adams. So let's bring Tyler Adams to this discussion about injury, because the latest is that Greg Berhalter says he's not sure if Tyler's going to be available for Copa America. Now, we had heard, what did we hear? February? We heard February, right? Like at some point,
late February. That's what I heard. Yeah.
Okay,
And I think
and
the
we
coach
are
said that.
we are rapidly approaching late February. Now, could he still get on the field? Like, should he still get on the training field? And could he still get himself back into a place to actually kick a ball?
I forget
suppose.
what position is no, I want to say Brighton, but it's not Brighton.
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. What position are they in the table right
You
now?
forgot where he plays because he hasn't played for them.
What, he had one cup appearance
I know, right?
for like 10 minutes?
What position are they in the English Premier League?
It's going to be a matter of like, do they need to play? Like at this point, with only, what do they have? 10 games left?
But there's 14. 14, 15, depending on who you are. Bournemouth has 15 left. They're in 13th position. They are 8 points. They are 8 points. No, sorry. 8 points up on Everton for the first relegation spot. So they're not in the fight, but they're adjacent, right? And so
it's almost like, I think by the time he gets to the team, let's say he's 3 weeks out. I mean, you would think you'd be hearing about him being close if he was 3 weeks out. You're not hearing much right now.
No.
Let's say he gets there and there is 10 games left at that point. Okay. 10 games left. Do you even chance it? If you're Bournemouth, you've got nothing for your money so far, zero for your money so far. Do you just let him have a nice summer and not even go to the Copa America? Just the only goal is next fall.
Next fall. What's next fall? Oh, just to come back for Bournemouth.
New season.
Yeah. Bro, I mean, I don't think. Let's say Tyler Adams gets on a training field, gets up to where he could appear in a game for Bournemouth, and there's a month left in the season. Now you're asking about 10 games. I think that's wildly optimistic.
Probably.
Right. Let's say there's a month left. I think it would be irresponsible, and he would probably want to be involved, but I think it would be irresponsible for the U.S. men's national team to call up Tyler Adams for Copa America. Like, I just think it's irresponsible.
I don't think it's irresponsible if Bournemouth is like, hey, we want to get him minutes. He's not going to get him here. We probably don't want him playing competitive minutes. We want him in the camp. Like, I could see that where you bring your captain into camp. He's rehabbing, he's training, you're getting him ready for the new season, but there's a gentleman's agreement that he's not going to play.
Sure. Well, so at this point, where in your brain, what space in your soccer brain, in your U.S. men's national team fan brain, does Tyler Adams occupy?
Like right here? Like,
I'm just saying, like, for me, he's kind of a ghost. Like he's I know he exists. Like, I know he's out there. I know he's a human being in the world, but effectively, he has no place because I don't see. He's not playing. I don't see him.
I think he exists in a superstitious place in my brain. In that, I don't want to think or get too excited about it because I don't want myself to get let down.
Okay, but
Where
I
it's
think
better just to limit my expectations.
Even if you're not superstitious, like even if you're not even in that place. Huh?
Just a little stitious?
Just if you're somewhat stitious. Even if you're not superstitious, it's like, why bother? Why give any energy to thinking about Tyler Adams and where he fits in this national team picture, right? Like we were talking about it's a while ago now, right? We were talking about like, if Tyler comes back, what happens to Gio? Can Gio play in this midfield? What would we drop in Yunus Musa? Oh my God! Like we can't possibly. Okay, now that's not even a question.
Well, Berhalter has one of the tough coaching decisions taken away from him, which probably helps him, to be honest with you. Because if Tyler Adams was healthy and was coming back strong right now, he would have a very interesting decision to make. In that you have two midfielders that are playing, one undroppable at Juventus, one playing significant minutes for AC Milan. And then you have Gio Reyna, which is a complete different option to Tyler Adams. They're not competing for the same position.
So I'll bring this in. Nate saying that Tyler exists in the John O'Brien space, which is extremely sad to stop. That makes me sad.
Not wrong. He's not wrong.
It makes me so sad. It makes me just angry to think about, that Tyler may go the way of John O'Brien because, good Lord. I mean,
Yeah, I think, like I said, Greg Berhalter has it easy right now in that he doesn't have to. I think he's going to be forced to be more offensive than he wants to be. I think he would prefer to have Tyler Adams in there as that cover for the back line. And I think that would be a more pragmatic approach. With him not available, the drop to Johnny Cardoso, which I think is a lot less than a lot of us were thought. Now that we're seeing him play in Spain at a decent level, it's still significant from Tyler Adams, though. Tyler
but I
Adams
don't.
best.
I think we're seeing that Johnny Cardoso can play at a good level. I mean, it's early
But
days.
he's never
at
looked like the
Betis.
player he is right now in Spain for the U.S. national team. He has never looked like that for that. I don't think I've
but
ever
there's-
been impressed with him at the national team level.
There's a question of role because I don't think Betis is asking him to play as a D mid. I don't think they're asking him to shield the back line. He's allowed to roam and he's playing as a two-way midfielder, which obviously Tyler Adams was not playing that way when he was in the U.S. men's national team midfield.
I think the
So-
true conversation is not Johnny Cardoso fighting for a spot in the three-man midfield. It is Luca De La Torre. I think that is the better option right now in terms of who's in form. And
No, sure, but
case.
I think that the way it sets up right now, Tyler's absence, as you said, takes a decision away from Greg. It makes it really hard not to have Gio Reyna in the midfield.
Yeah.
Right, which you would probably have to do. You would have to figure out a way to do that anyway, at least in some matches, in some situations, depending on your opponent.
So let's say we have games lined up likely against Brazil and Colombia coming
Yes.
up. Let's put the Colombia one aside. Brazil game. You're not, and you don't feel like you can play. You have to play a defensive midfielder, or you have to play something that's a little more less offensive. What is your three man? Are you putting Johnny Curtis in there? Are you putting Maloney in there? Are you just going with MML?
I forgot about Maloney. No, yeah. Well, okay. Are you asking me what Greg will do or what I would do?
Let's first say you.
Well, because I think that you need, if you are going to say we are going to play with these nations and we are trying to get to that level, you can't be afraid to play someone like Gio, who is going to be able to exploit space that Brazil will leave, right? And especially this Brazil team, which is a mess right now by their standards. Like, I would rather have a player who can beat defenders off on the dribble, who can exploit space, who can do things with the ball, who scares the other team a little bit, and then ask a couple of two-way players, hey, do the work, fill in behind, get back, drop in, whatever you need to do. I think Yunus Musa proved, you saw it again today in the Europa League. The kid has wheels and can make recovery runs. Now, that you obviously don't want to have to make recovery runs all the time against a team like Brazil, but I think if you're smart about your positioning, you should have somebody in midfield. You should have a fullback able to drop in when necessary, and you don't necessarily have to go, well, we can't play Gio and Weston and Musa together, right? I don't know.
No, I think there's a case for that. And also, we gotta remember Brazil isn't the Brazil that you and I grew up with. They press now. Like, they're not the same Brazil that they're not your father's Brazil, you know. So I think Greg Berhalter has an interesting conversation that he has to have with himself in that regard. For me personally, I would probably go with Musa, Weston, and Reyna in that. And I think Musa is he's being asked to do a lot more defensive work at AC Milan than he was being asked to do when he was in Spain. And I think he's showing decently well at it.
And I do think that we have categorized Gio as a defensive liability, and I'm not sure that's entirely fair. Now,
we don't know if he's bad at defense. We just know he doesn't play it.
Well, what I'm saying is I think he can be enticed to play defense, but you have to put him in the right position. And, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so, again, that is an update 2 days ago about Tyler Adams. Doesn't look like he's going to be around for Copa America, presenting a problem for Greg Berhalter. You mentioned the friendlies against Colombia. That is already booked. That's going to be in my hood in D.C. I'm not sure, or in Maryland. It's a terrible place to go. It is called the DMV. I'm in the V part of the DMV.
I try to be in the V whenever I can.
Okay. I guess I should.
I definitely don't go into the D.
Why not? That's the best part.
Jay Rodius.
Are we saying the same D?
No, we're not saying the same things. No.
Okay.
What I was going to say is that's the part of the DMV, that part of the M, specifically that stadium, is a terrible place to go watch any sporting event. So I'm not thrilled about that, but see if I make it.
Well, I'm thrilled that someplace other than Ohio and Austin and Nashville is getting a game.
Yeah, well, some people will tell you that that's a good thing too. The Brazil friendly has not yet been announced. Do we have an idea where they're going to play that? Is there any rumors out there?
I don't know that I've seen a rumor attached to that one. But I will say, while we're talking about fixtures, just real quick, and I know it's a little bit off the page. What I am happy about is that while U.S. soccer seems to have no interest in the West Coast of the United States, FIFA does. And I am very excited about the fact that California is getting two of the first three.
Yeah.
And the West Coast is getting all three of the first.
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I mean, again, all the people live on the East Coast. It's the
Not
fact.
The cool ones.
It's where it's where the best people live. But there are time zone considerations happening here, right? Let's put the United States on the West Coast because those games are going to be,
at least if they're playing them at 7:00 at night. Yeah, you're gonna get maybe that's a 3 a.m., 4 a.m. kickoff.
It's not a great time for kickoff in Europe. So put the United States on the West Coast, so their games are, early West Coast but decent times for the East Coast, and then put European teams on the East Coast so that
if the U.S. is playing noon games, that's fantastic. It's 8 p.m. games for Europe, and
right. We'll see, but noon is rough with weather.
Now I have to make the decision of do I invest in tickets and worry about. But here's my way I think of things. Do you think this way too? Like when you go to think about World Cup tickets, do you think, man, is this when someone's going to try to do a terrorist attack on the U.S.?
Oh God,
I think about that stuff, dude.
No, oh my God,
you don't think about that?
No.
Damn, dog, that's in a.
I mean, obviously, it's an ever looming specter in our
what's
lives.
What's the bigger spectacle that you could do?
But honestly, I hate to bring us down, but you already did it. I don't go to that place necessarily, although of course, I've seen which Clancy movie was that? Which Tom Clancy book was
Patriot
it?
Games. I don't know.
Patriot Games, was that the Super Bowl one? Whatever
I
it
don't
was.
recall.
There's a Super Bowl bombing one, right? People
will
know
gun?
No, that's a California Angels game for some reason. No, back then too, before Mike Trout and before who's the Japanese player? Anyway, what I was to say is that I do think occasionally about the thing that happened in Kansas City with the parade. Like, I know that.
I don't even know.
Oh, there was a shooting.
Oh.
I don't think that was a mass shooting planned crazy person thing. I think something else popped off. But regardless, there are guns everywhere. So, yeah, that's what I think about. The one thing I'll say for FIFA, FIFA's an evil empire, an evil organization. They're like Spectre, right? They're crazy.
Cool.
But when they come to town to hold World Cup games, they basically like cordon off a mile radius around the stadium, and it becomes the FIFA zone. And I imagine that they will be pretty firm on some of those things. Now, I don't know. I mean, it's still the country, and we still have laws that say you get to carry a gun in certain places because what the hell? Yeah, that's a thing too. Good luck in Dallas or in Texas. Good luck in a lot of places. Good luck.
But listen, I'm very anxious to find out if after all sponsors and everyone like that gets their tickets, if there's room for a guy like your boy Jared here to get some tickets to those games.
Yeah.
And what price I'm gonna have to pay, because this is likely maybe the only time I get to go to a World Cup game with my kids.
Yeah.
So
that's a
make
big
it happen.
So first of all, I'm going to shout out our man Freddie. East Coast is the most important. There's a reason why the Pilgrims landed on the East Coast and not the West. It's better. I mean, you can't
nothing to do with proximity.
You can't argue with facts. You just can't argue with facts. Don't question it. Just Freddie is a genius. Thank you very much. Mr. Thiago will be 5 years old when the World Cup comes to America.
Old enough to watch it with his dad.
Old enough to go to a game and sit there and watch it with his dad?
Okay, as a guy who took 5-year-olds to games, I don't know if you ever took your oldest to games.
No, did not. Never happened. It had no money. He wasn't interested.
They have about the attention span for a half. It's
that's what I'm thinking.
More than a half, man. And do you want to pay World Cup prices?
Now, I know he is going to be hardcore into it. Like, I already got that feeling. Like, We're doing soccer on Saturday
I
mornings.
think you go to a mixed zone viewing kind of like place and something like that, where there's an event going on. I think that's probably the better way. The big screen, he can play around. Outdoors.
I think they'll probably do something in DC, despite the fact that the DMV, got 0 games. I'm sure that they'll.
You just said that. What stadium would they use that you think would be appropriate?
Well, no, they're not gonna. That's the thing. There was no good stadium. I mean, Baltimore pitched, but it was like,
I'm just saying, West Coast rolled snake eyes on this, man. We got paid out nice.
I mean, I can't like relocate to the West Coast for a month in 2026 unless you're putting me up. You got room in the pool house?
There's no pool house, but I will move one of my kids out of their bedrooms for a couple nights if you want.
Well, but it's going to be me and Tiago and probably.
But then you have to do the same commute I do into SoFi, which is going to suck.
Oh no, yeah, that's right. You live on the other side. You don't live. You're not actually in LA by any stretch of the imagination.
I should leave my house now.
Yeah, to get there for 2026. Yes. That's probably right. I want to bring us to strikers. Now, Daryl Dike, again, out for a long time, and that's very disappointing. But we do have some questions about strikers right now. And this is interesting to me. Now, this is better than no options, Jared. This is better than nobody looking okay or nobody showing up with talent. We've had some questions. The World Cup was not a great showing for American strikers, although Josh Sargent was there, and his name is going to come up now. But here's what you got. All right, you've got Folarin Balogun, a guy who chose us.
Okay, assholes. Sun's out, guns out.
And we got very excited about this, right? He was a hot prospect coming out of Arsenal and scored a bunch of goals in France, was going to get his move. He chose us. We felt very special when he looked into our eyes.
He gave us the rose.
I want you. But he's not exactly flying at Monaco right now.
5 goals, maybe, I think.
He's okay. He's had some moments, but he's not exactly flying. Then you have Ricardo Pepi, the guy who saved us during World Cup qualifying and then didn't get a ticket to the World Cup.
The best goal per minute average of any player in the top 10 leagues in Europe with 5 games or more.
I mean, that guy knows how to capitalize on his opportunities.
5 minutes or something like that, I believe.
But, and I mean this in the most general way, because he is, and he does score. He ain't playing enough. Like he's not playing enough.
There's not just one guy pushing. There's 2 guys pushing on them right now. You've got Josh Sargent, and you also have Haji Wright in this conversation now, out of the blue.
Okay. Now Haji did go to the World Cup,
and
a lot of people were questioning that decision.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have in their mind the Haji Wright at the World Cup and don't think that he was necessarily the right choice and probably haven't given him another chance in their minds. Sargent, kind of the same thing, and Sargent is banging him in. Now, the problem here, and I say this, again, recognizing it could be worse, the problem is both those guys are scoring goals in the second division. Now, the second division of England is probably the 6th or 7th best league in Europe. Right?
Harder to score the goals there than the Eredivisie.
I think that is a fair statement. I think that's probably a fair statement. And Josh Sargent is having himself a time. Like he's on.
Give me a number right now. What do you think? How many goals do you think Haji Wright has this season? So far, he's played 30 games. How many goals do you think he has?
He's played 30 games. I forgot the
appearances. Appearances. I don't know if it starts or anything.
Well, okay, but that's still he's appeared in 30 games. I would say he has 8 goals in 20.
10 goals.
Well, okay, so he's at double digits. Good for Haji, right? That was a pun. I didn't mean that. Good for Haji. Correct. Yes. Good for Haji. So you've got 5 goals at Monaco, top 5 league. You've got how many goals does Pepi have now? What's the number?
Let's see. I'd have to look. I'm sorry. I don't know off the top of my head. I think he has.
He's got 5 goals as well.
Is it 5?
He's got 5 goals as well in 246 minutes. That's dumb. He's got 5 goals in 246 minutes.
Goal every 50 minutes, dude.
Then you have Haji Wright, who you just told us has 10 goals, has more goals in the championship than Josh does, but that's partly because Josh Sargent has had some injuries that he's been dealing with this year. Josh Sargent, 8 goals in 723 minutes. How do you rank those players?
It's interesting. From what I've seen in the times I have watched Haji Wright, he is playing more of a hybrid position. He's playing both striker and winger. So it's a kind of interesting in that we've talked about that with Josh Sargent as well. When Pookie was there, he was playing a lot more of a winger role. It looks like he's playing a lot more central as a true striker now with him gone. But they both have the opportunity and the ability to play multiple positions up front. I would say I would consider Josh Sargent the better player for the system that Berhalter wants to run. And that meaning, I think he's more mobile. I think he's better on because the U.S. unfortunately does serve a lot of crosses for the style of the play that we're even with a 4-3-3. We serve way too many crosses in. But Josh Sargent's good at his head. He is. And I think that he's a smart player that knows how to be in good spaces. Now, he's very different in terms of how Folarin Balogun wants to play, where Folarin Balogun's trying to get the service on through balls. He's trying to time runs on the last defender. Josh Sargent wants the ball at his feet, distribute, and get the ball back in a different position. And so I think Greg Berhalter is going to be tempted here to actually use Josh Sargent over Balogun at times if Balogun's not the hot striker.
I think that Sargent is absolutely the better choice as a hold-up player. Mm-hmm. Probably the best choice as a hold-up player among these four.
To that point, when we were having the conversation earlier about Brazil, would you start Balogun or would you start Sargent?
Wow.
Because I think I would start Sargent against Brazil, but I would start Balogun against Colombia.
All right, explain yourself.
Because I think against Colombia, not that they're an easy team by any stretch, I think USA is going to see more of the ball and they're going to have to run their actual offense more often. And when in running their offense and the way Gio Reyna is the one player who can unlock Folarin Balogun, though. So we haven't seen a whole lot of that just yet. So I might be talking a little bit premature here. But for the system that Berhalter was running leading up to the World Cup or anything like that, I think Josh Sargent allows the U.S. to play Berhalter's plan against teams where they're going to at least have a decent amount of possession.
Okay.
I think Balogun on the break, on the counter, I think is going to be a better option for a team like Brazil or something like that, where Gio Reyna is going to get the ball on a clearance and Balogun's going to be running and facing the goal.
Okay. I could see the logic in that. I think that Sargent right now feels like the more well-rounded player. Well, is Balogun maybe the better goal scorer? I think
he's a better poacher. I think he's a better poacher in the box. I think Balogun knows where to find the ball. It doesn't seem like it this season for some reason, but I think when he does find space, it's like, okay, that's what a top-level striker, that's where they should be on this play. Whereas Josh Sargent, I think, makes everyone abound him maybe a little bit better.
Let me ask the question differently. So Nate has his rankings. I put them up already. I'll do it again. Pepi 1, Balogun 2, Sargent 3, Haji nope. Okay, because he says stop it with Haji. He doesn't pass the eye test.
It's hard to say Pepi 1 because he's not even, you don't even see him play significant starting minutes with his own club team. Like he almost feels
but when
like
he plays,
is a substitute.
He scores
as a sub against tired legs in situations where he can take advantage of that. He got a game in the last series for U.S. national team, right? Balogun got a game. Pepi got a game. Pepi did not score in that. He scored in all of his other appearances leading up to that as a sub, but he didn't start in the game he started.
Okay, let me ask the question
in the game he started
differently. So what do we got for ages here? Josh Sargent is 24.
I would say something like that.
23. Yeah. He'll be 24 in 5 days. He'll be 25.
Balogun
24
22 or 21?
Balogun, I believe, is 22. I think that sounds right. The chat is going to help me out with that one because I didn't plan any of this stuff. You have Haji Wright, who's
25.
25 already?
About to turn 20. Sorry, he's about to turn 25.
To turn 25. And Ricardo Pepi, who
I'm sorry, he'll turn 26 next month.
Okay, 26 next month. So, okay, He's the oldest of this group. Yeah. And Ricardo Pepi is 21 and is a ways off. Just turned 21 in January, actually. So, 21. Who has the highest ceiling of those four players? Who?
Balogun.
Are you sure about that?
I think so. But I mean, and here's what I'm going to say. Pepi has to work harder for the same thing. Balogun has a pedigree that is appreciated in European soccer when you're making a move and you're selling a player to another club, to say that you're an Arsenal Academy product, to say that you've been a leading goal scorer in one of the major leagues in Europe. Pepi can't say that.
Okay, so you're saying
Remember,
that
we're a year removed from Pepi being tragic in the Bundesliga.
No, I understand that. I'm asking about the ceiling for the player, and you're pointing to Balogun's privilege. What's what you're saying?
Yes.
And that's going to help him
Because
be a better player.
Okay, so if Pepi was playing better than Balogun, but was in the MLS, would you say he's a better player? And if Balogun's doing exactly what he's doing right now, and Pepi was back at Dallas banging in 15 goals a season, is Pepi the better player than Balogun?
I don't know. I don't know if I would say that. Probably not.
That's what I'm saying, though, because Balogun's going to get opportunities that Pepi's going to have to work harder for. Now, if they end up at the same level, I would say there's a potential that Pepi is the better player and he has the better ceiling. But I think Balogun's pedigree does work for his favor in terms of ceiling. He's going to have access to opportunities that Pepi may not.
That's possible. I do think he has to prove it. I think
you're just talking pure talent, where I'm thinking,
but to your point, but that's the thing. Like, what's the measure of talent? It's how many goals you score and where you score them. If you're a striker, right? What your level is ultimately. So while I'm talking about talent, you're right to bring this in, because if Pepi tops out at scoring 20 goals for an Eredivisie winner or something like that, and Balogun is scoring 10 goals for a Premier League team, probably going to say it's Balogun who's had the higher ceiling, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say, because I mean, it isn't just a question of talent when you talk about ceiling, because you're going to be tested at different levels. Now, if they play in the same leagues as each other the entire way, yeah, it becomes an easy conversation. But I don't know that that Pepi's going to have as easy a road as Balogun may have, just because of a few different things. But half of England knows who Balogun is already. That helps. It helps.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that's true.
It opens doors, man. And I think Pepi had a really interesting opportunity when we went to the Bundesliga, because there was a lot of talk about him. I think there's a lot of teams looking at him, and that step backwards while he was in there, despite the fact he's on a horrible team, he was part of it, and he's got a bit of a reclamation going. And I think he's doing a fantastic job of building that resume back up for another big move and to have a team to take advantage of. The question is, does he make that move this summer? And is De Jong going to play another season? And is he going to be the lead? We thought that by this time, Pepi would be the starting striker, but De Jong is having a fantastic season as an aged player.
Yeah, I mean, look, it can be that Balogun has a higher ceiling, which I probably think is a fair statement. Did he just say
that Balogun's that the Eredivisie was a tougher league to score 20 goals in than France? Is that what he was saying?
He said Balogun scored 20 goals last season in the toughest league between the three. The French league being the toughest league between Pepi, Balogun, and Sargent.
So he's saying that Balogun. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I read that it says Pepi. I apologize.
I said Balogun like 3 different times.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, okay. So I think it's fair to say that Balogun has a higher ceiling right now. I still think, and I'm going to remain committed to this, that within the next couple of years, and I think I said 3 at one point, Ricardo Pepi is going to score 20 goals in a top 5 league. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to do enough between now, getting his garbage time minutes, his sub minutes at PSV, and next season when maybe they do push De Jong out and give him an opportunity to be the starter, that he's going to get his move somewhere else, hopefully not back to Germany, or at least to a better club in Germany, and he's going to score 20 goals. I think he's good enough to do that. Okay. He's good enough to do that.
We would have said the same thing about Balogun going into the season, right?
This is KY718 saying the highest scoring American ever in a single season. He means in Europe, and that's Balogun.
That's why I said in the chat that Wando actually has the most goals in a single season.
I know. You're always repping over there for your...
Yeah, I always rep the Earthquakes.
Well, you rep MLS. I think that's a fair statement.
I'm just saying that wasn't an accurate statement without saying in Europe. That's not an accurate statement.
Okay, he was being brief for the purposes of the discussion.
I wasn't bringing it into the show. I literally just responded in the chat.
I know. I just brought it on.
You're the one being petty here.
Hey, you're the one that can't read. Okay, I don't know.
Sometimes.
Okay. All right. You missed last week. You missed our review of the disastrous Inter Miami World Tour, And yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything about that particular situation other than, again, my name on the screen for the podcast listeners who can't see it is Jason Davis, a.k.a. Thuggish Flamingo, because apparently a managing editor of a publication in China, the South China Morning Post, said that Lionel Messi, all petulant in pink, like some thuggish flamingo. Everyone looking at him might as well have been staring at a ballerina in a tutu. This is what they are saying about Lionel Messi in China. So
listen, I think they've got it right. I don't think they had any right to be mad until he played in Japan right after and saw minutes. That's the only thing I think they have in their court. And to be honest with you, Jason, I don't give a shit about Miami. They put themselves in this situation. It was always going to be a shit show. It was always going to be a shit show. There was no way it was ever not going to be. When you ask these players to do that circuit, and you know these guys aren't ready to play significant minutes, and the average fan over there doesn't know that these guys are going to play 20 minutes at the most, maybe 45 if they get lucky.
Well,
they're never a priority. None of these games were ever going to be a priority. Ever going to be a priority for these players and these coaches. Tata Martino's not going to take a chance. If Leo Messi is sneezing, he's not playing.
I don't think that's true. I think Lionel Messi wants to play soccer if he can.
I don't know, man. They're asking these players to do way too much. And
no, that's true. This is true. I will bring something in I'm crossing streams here. So if you listen to the radio show or you just think whatever, this is the question. At what date, on what date, by what date does Lionel Messi play his last game of 2024?
I assume when they get knocked out of the playoffs, or when
but you're imagining that Inter Miami makes it that Lionel Messi.
I think he finishes the season.
You think he plays all of those games? That's your belief.
Unless they play all the games. You said when he plays his last game.
Okay, but you're saying that you believe that they will manage him and nothing.
I'm saying that the numbers tell you he will. The guy has been barely injured in his entire career. The guy is on better legs than a lot of guys in this league.
We saw him last year. And this preseason struggling, right?
Yeah, but he's
struggling
not going to play 2 seasons back to back. That's what he was asked to do last season. He finished the European season and came right into MLS, played a tournament, and then another season.
Well, hold on. He did have a couple of weeks because he went to a pasta restaurant in Miami, and he went shopping at Publix and got some chicken parms. The dude just had
a proper offseason plus a world tour he barely played on. He's going to be more well rested. I really truly think that Messi will play significant games. I think he plays 80% of the games this season.
Okay, well, change. But I'm also asking, like, even if you believe Messi will last the entire,
I don't think he plays in the All-Star game.
Okay, that's wild because he's going to be. Yeah, he's going to be on the All-Star team. There's no doubt about that.
But I think he's going to have a knock like all the big players tend to do when it comes All-Star time.
Okay, this is what Aaron is saying, that he will get a knock in July and miss the hottest part of the season. Mm-hmm. Basically be like, no, I can't do it in this humidity. What are you talking about? You guys playing this stuff?
Yeah, plays in Argentina.
What is going on? Yeah, but it's not. No. It's not like that in Argentina. It's not like that in Argentina.
He plays in Brazil all the time too. Like the dude plays Copa Americas and qualifying down.
I know
he plays in humidity and stuff all the time.
Not on the regular like that. Did you see that Christian Benteke? He did an interview.
I guarantee you, I did not.
Okay, it's fine. He said something about when he came over here, he didn't understand what it was like to play at altitude. He said he went to Salt Lake.
Legit.
He went to Salt Lake and he was like, "Oh my God. Am I done as a player? Like, am I cooked?
What's the highest altitude that a Champions League player plays at in Europe? I mean, maybe if you go to if Zurich makes it to the Champions League and you have to go play there in like the early rounds.
Is that the highest? Let's see, highest altitude.
That's the only team I can think that would play in the Alps. That's the only professional team over there I could think of now. Because FC Zurich, right?
Well, the northern Italian teams are getting up there, but I don't know how high they are.
Because our boy, what's his name? Was at Union Berlin last year. I'm already forgetting his name. The striker that didn't
Jordan Pefok.
Jordan Pefok. He played. Didn't he play at Zurich? I mean, yeah, he played at Zurich, didn't he?
He played for Young Boys, and I don't know where Young Boys is.
Okay,
where's Young Boys?
I'm not positive, but I believe it was Switzerland, wasn't it?
Yes, that is Switzerland. Okay, here's this is just basic, and this is very little research. Let's see. Barcelona is 121 feet above sea level. Obviously, that's not much of it.
Yeah, you're not going to feel that
hey,
effect.
The Bernabeu is 2,200 feet above sea level. That's half of them. That's like, let's see.
That's just the upper level of the seating there.
Turin's not that high. It's only 849 for Juventus.
I believe that's the real thing. I think these players do. I think Benteke is right. I don't think. I mean, obviously in England, you're at sea level the entire time. I don't think there's barely a hill.
They have hills.
Yeah, that's all. They barely have hills. Like there's no mountains.
I do think it's hilarious when they're like, "Oh, the mountains over there," and you're like, "What mountain? You mean that like small bump?"
They got cliffs.
We can definitely lord our landscape and our natural beauty
Thomas
over the English.
That the Zurich is not high up. What is the What is the elevation of Zurich?
What? Yeah, I don't know how that works. Like, is there? I actually don't know. The article I found was from 2020.
Feet above sea level in Zurich,
and it was only there was only the final 16 teams. So nobody in the final 16 has an altitude of significance.
Yes, that's a legitimate thing. I never really thought about that coming to MLS and being asked to play in Salt Lake and Denver.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah,
I think Messi's going to play in Denver.
I think he'll try.
Are they on the schedule Are they on the Rapid schedule? I actually don't know. I haven't checked that.
Rapids,
if they're on the Rapid schedule.
Sneaky having a good offseason. Here's a pick your poison for you, just to change topics with 5 minutes left.
Okay, sure. I love a good pick your poison.
Better offseason, Chicago or Denver?
Well, they're called Colorado.
Sorry, my bad.
I think. Well, Count Costa just signed for Chicago.
Yep.
I think probably, man. I'm going to say the Rapids because I think they have more room for improvement. I mean, Chicago was not good. I'm not saying they were, but I think where Colorado finished, like they can make the bigger move. I think. Okay. I think that's a fair statement.
Denver. Colorado made a lot of moves that Americans will recognize and stuff like that. I mean, Chicago brings in the Ivory Coast player Usmnt Doumbia. Osman Doumbia. Excuse me, Doumbia.
Doumbia
as a designated player. I think Tom Boger hinted there may be still one more when he was on our show that they may not be done in Chicago right now.
Could be.
But I think there's a couple teams out there still that maybe have some business to do. Obviously, LA is trying to get one last one across the finish line. LAFC is actually sneaky. When we talked to Boger, we were saying, what's wrong with LAFC and their signings? And then they just been rapid fire. But they still, if I remember correct, they haven't figured out the Vela situation yet. They're still negotiating that, correct?
Yeah, I don't think I've heard anything on that. So this is what Chicago has done. Andrew Gutman, Tom Barlow, Tobias Salquist, he comes in from, I think that's Sweden. Silkeborg, that's Sweden, right? Javier Cases, that's a re-signing, so forget him.
Yeah,
Alan Erigoni, that's a loan from Lugano, who they also own. Chase Gasper. Hugo, is it Kuipers? Yeah, Hugo Kuipers. That's the big one, the forward. They think he's going to score goals. And Kellen Acosta. That's their work that they've done. Colorado, Miguel Navarro, Sebastian Anderson. Those are a couple of free signings. Forget them. Omer Fernandez as a free agent. Zach Steffen, Georgi Mihalovic, Jasper Loffelson from RSL. A couple of super draft kids. Sam Vines comes back. Lamine Diak. I don't know how good he is.
So you're taking Colorado. If you're taking Colorado, then Colorado or LAFC, who brings back Atuesta. Do you buy Atuesta coming back to this and still being a big difference maker on that team?
Could be. I mean, like you said, they're going to go get another. They're looking at who's the next. There's a signing lined up for LAFC that's floating around too, right?
Well, they brought in a young player, Thomas Angel from Colombia.
Okay, Tomas Angel.
Yeah, and they also brought in David Martinez from the Venezuelan club. And
okay, that's the one. David Martinez is the one I'm thinking of.
They brought in a lot of young. Just think about LAFC, man. They bring a lot of young players in. They do very good about attracting. The whole league is going that direction right now, though. It's one of the interesting things about this offseason is that how the transactions have skewed 22 to 27. and it's really not the big foreign European players that every team has won or anything anymore.
No. This is wild. Charlotte, we're talking about C team. We'll just stick on the C teams. Colorado, Chicago. Charlotte is in talks to sign Luciano Rodriguez, who is a U20 Uruguayan player. They're talking about $12 million, which in Major League Soccer, especially for a 20-year-old. Apparently this guy's also got like big interest from abroad as well, like from Europe as well.
Wait, who's the owner of it? What's the Charlotte owner? That's not the Home Depot guy, right? That's Atlanta.
No. That's Atlanta. Well, he's not. Okay, started Home Depot, founded Home Depot, not involved anymore. But no, somebody is going to help me with Charlotte because it's right there on the tip of my tongue.
I'm still going to call Weinstein the Miramax guy, just so you know. Like,
sure, that's fair. Somebody's going to help me with Charlotte. The guy who was acting the fool. He threw a drink at somebody in the stands or in the box.
That's what I'm talking about.
You're fine with that? You're fine with that?
I'm fine with anything that's not my club doing that kind of thing. That like is I love like just the pettiness, and I love like the stupidity of it, and I just like that there's an owner with a little bit of fire.
Well, he didn't do it in an MLS game. I don't know if he would.
Do you think in general?
You think he would do it in an MLS game?
I like that there's an owner that could potentially at any time do something completely stupid.
He was the guy who talked trash about Atlanta when they announced that Charlotte was going to get a team. David Tepper is his name. Kind of big, doofy looking guy. He was like, that city down the road, they don't know what's coming, that kind of thing. So I think that's very funny. Inter Miami, speaking of, there's a lot of stories out there, Tom Bogert reporting that other MLS executives are saying they're screwed when it comes to their roster compliance.
They already offloaded one.
They've offloaded Gregory. So Michelle Koppman from the Miami Herald says that Gregory is not on the Inter Miami roster tonight as they play Botafogo. Team source that I'm not Botafogo. Who are they playing tonight?
I think.
He's going to Botafogo. They're playing somebody else. Newell's Old Boys. That's right. They're playing Newell's Old Boys.
I assume they're playing Korean All-Stars or something. I don't know.
So, okay. Gregory is going to go to Botafogo, and that helps them a lot with their overage when it comes to
supposedly still trying to offload Yedlin and a couple other players as well. One of them being Robert Taylor, and that's the freaking key piece.
I think the idea is that these are the guys that are available. Like you can take one of these guys if you give us a good deal. So I think that's what it is.
If I'm half of MLS teams, I'd be getting in there for Robert Taylor.
You're a big fan of Robert Taylor, the Finnish guy with the English name. All right, that's going to do it for us. Got to wrap this thing up. Please go and sign up for the Patreon at patreon.com/thebestsoccershow. You get access to the Slack, which is a riot, hilarious all the time. It's where I see all my memes. I see them all there. That's where I get them.
Quick from the chat on Connor Rivera. He says, get this. West Brom have the highest stadium at an altitude of 551 feet, bitches.
Why bitches?
I guess in England. I don't know.
Yeah, in England. I think that's
That's the highest altitude.
West Brom is the mountain team in England. West Brom. All right, patreon.com/thebestsoccershow. What else? What else do people need to know?
Support our folks that came by last week. John Tannenwald at the Goalkeeper and the Philadelphia Inquirer, Morgan over in Jacksonville, and also all of her photo exploits on the Instagram. Check out the two of them. Thank you for filling in me last week.
Yep, that's it. All right. Give us a rating and a review somewhere. Why don't you? Let people know that we're out here. You know, some people are trying to make a living doing soccer, radio, and broadcasting and video stuff, and it always helps if my
if you'd like to put a ring on it, huh?
Doing well. If things, I'm out here, people. I'm out here. So is Jared too. He's out here too. All right, that's it. We'll talk to you guys. What, next week? We're gonna do this next week. See you then.
I'm gonna try.
It was there. Oh, here we go. Saucing them up. Hit him. What?
Michael freaking Orozco Fiscal.
Go to DEFCON 2.
Who asked those questions?
Oh, it's incredible!
Can I get a manager? Can I please get a manager?
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Get to the chopper!
Calm down, Greg. It's soccer. It's soccer.
Oh, it's incredible!
Michael freaking Arasco Fiscal.
Jay Rodius.